I have a really fun and easy project for our Tuesday video this week. After we made the wasp nest last week to tuck under the eaves, I thought it would be kind of cute to tuck a kite up on the roof. So stay tuned and see how fun and easy this project is. Alright, we are going to start by taking one of our toothpicks and just cutting the very end off. This one is going to be our crossbar on our kite, and we need to cut it, and we also need to make a couple of markings. So I'm going to line it up with the zero measurement on this particular ruler, and I'm going to mark it at two spots. I'm going to mark it at 3/4 of an inch. And again at 1.5 inches. And I'm going to cut at that 1.5 inch mark. And I'm just using my easy cutter. You could use dog nail clippers, you could use a little saw. Just don't use scissors, please. That is so dangerous, and I see so many people doing it still. Then I'm going to take another toothpick, and I am going to mark, at, come on, stay still, at 3/4 of an inch. Alright. Now, I'm going to lay a couple of extra toothpicks out here just to kind of act as a little helping hand. Now I have super glue. And super glue works really well for this because we have a pretty small spot that we're trying to attach. And I'll put that glue right on that mark on the long one. And we're going to glue, we put that 3/4 inch line on this one just so we could get it centered. And now this needs to dry. Once this glue is dry, I'll come back and we'll do the next step. Alright, now that this is set, I'm just going to cut up some white thread. This is just white sewing thread. And this step is probably optional, but I think it makes it a lot stronger since this is such a small area that we have glued, and we're going to use this as a frame for our kite, even though it's probably just going to lay on the roof of the dollhouse or hang on the wall in your dollhouse. I think it's a good idea to add this at this joint. So put a drop of glue there, and then just wrap this. No pattern really. I'm just going back and forth, crossing over that joint until it, just to make sure that it's going to kind of stay there. And then I'm going to pat that glue down, and I'm going to let that glue dry, and when that's dry I'll come back and we'll put our decorative paper on. Alright, so this glue has dried enough that we can cut off our extra bit of thread. And then what I've got here is I've got some 2-ply napkins. Where's the package? Someplace I have the package. Anyway, these are, I think I got these at Dollar Tree. And what you need to do is open it up. You'll notice there's kind of a textured bit that goes about this far in on the edges. You want to cut, I'm just going to cut down the center because I think it'll be the easiest place to cut. And when you cut it down, then you can pull apart the two layers. Let's try and get it apart. Because you just want a single layer for this. And this, I like this one because it has that chevron pattern in all the different colors. But you could use anything. And I've got an alternative I'm going to show you in a moment. That's something else that I think would be kind of cool. So we are going to run just a bead of glue on our little kite frame here. I'm just going to run some glue there. I'm going to run some glue there, there, and there. And then I'm going to pick a spot on here, and I'll go right there. And I'm going to let this dry. So I'm going to put this off to the side. And then what I've got here is just a piece of tissue paper. You know, the wrapping tissue that you get, it's near the wrapping paper. This is also from Dollar Tree. And I have some, these are Bic pens. They're similar to a Sharpie pen. They're an alcohol marker. And I think this might be kind of a cool way. Let's see, let's just pick a couple of colors. I think I'm going to try and find 4 colors I like. Yeah, let's go those. And then I'm going to just make a random design here. You could use any alcohol markers. You could use Sharpies. You could use those alcohol markers they have at the dollar store. Alcohol marker is nice because it won't run when it gets wet. So when the glue gets on it, it's not going to make a mess. And I've got just a piece of scrap paper I grabbed underneath here because I want, alcohol markers do leak through when you're doing them. All right, now put this off to this. I'm going to turn this with the up. So if you don't have the 2-ply napkin, you could do this. And I made another kite frame off camera. So again, I'm going to put glue in the same spots, and then I'm going to put this on here and let this one dry also. And then we'll finish up both kites. Once this glue dries, we can finish up both of them. So I'll be back when the glue dries. All right, so this glue has all dried overnight. So I'm going to first go through and snip off all the excess paper. And kind of make kind of a rectangle shape around your kite. And I'll do the same thing on this one. And there's still a lot of usable napkin here. I just keep a bunch of these napkins in a bin in my craft room, in my storage, and then I can just pull them out. I use them for a lot of stuff, not just minis. I use them for lots of different things. All right, now this doesn't have to be perfectly shaped, because what we're going to do now is we are going to fold and crease. It looks like that part came unglued. That's okay. We can re-glue it. And you're going to crease that pretty well, mainly so you know where to cut. And then you're not going to cut at the fold. I'm going to cut it so that I have some to fold over. Doesn't have to be perfect. And then this one. And I'll finish trimming this one off on camera, and then I'm going to turn the camera off and trim that guy, because no use for you to watch me doing the exact same thing on both of them there. But I'll get both of them up to the next step, and then I'll be back. All right, everybody is trimmed down, and now I'm using Elmer's School Glue for this project because I want a really lightweight glue. Tacky glue would probably, it might work, but it would probably be a little heavy, and it might soak through more. For this paper, whether it's the single ply of the napkin or the tissue paper, it's really lightweight, thin paper. So too much glue on there is not going to be good. And you could apply it with a toothpick or with a brush if you'd prefer. I'm just doing it the quick way here this morning. Stick a little glue under there because that came unglued. Okay. Turn it over. And it doesn't take long to glue, so I'll go ahead and glue this guy at the same time. I just go inside that fold line, and then since we've already creased it on the fold line, it's super easy to fold it up. All right, so I'm going to finish this up. I'm going to turn the camera off and let these guys both dry thoroughly, and then I'll be back and I'll show you a couple of optional ways to trim these out. All right, so our glue it's off, it's almost dry, it'll do. So now we're going to add some tails to our kites. And what I did was I just went to my stash, I grabbed a handful of embroidery floss, and I cut off a chunk of embroidery floss, a little bit off of each of those colors. I have 7 colors here. And I didn't measure, I just cut off a few. I'm going to turn the camera off. I'm going to split each of these into 2 bundles. Embroidery floss, if you aren't familiar with it, there's 6 threads usually in each that's wound together. And what you can do is you can just divide it into however many you want. So I'm going to split each one into 2 bundles, and when I have that done, I'll come back and show you how I'm going to make the tail for the kite. All right, so I've got them all split into each strand split into 2 groups. There's a couple of them split down 2 and 4 instead of 3 and 3. It doesn't matter. I'm going to line up one end. I kind of played with that one. I got one tail done. You can use less thread if you want to. In fact, I think on this one, I'm going to do this one on this kite. For this kite, I think I'm going to not put the 2 greens in. I don't think it needs the green or the orange. I'm just going to put 4 strands on this one. So try and get this end even as I can. Kind of helps if you wet your finger down just a little bit. What I'm trying to do is get like an overhand knot. Doesn't have to be neat, because this is going to be on the back side. You're not going to see this. And I'm going to cut the thread even with that, and I'm going to make them fairly even on the end. Then turn my kite over. And I'm going to take just a little dab of glue, and I'm going to put that right there. And then that glue will need to dry before we can display our kite. So I'm going to glue this one on. And like I said, I didn't measure. I will, hold on, let's measure what the finished length is here. Finished length is about 1.5 inches. I think I cut these probably 3.5 inches. It looks like 3 to 3.5 inches. That doesn't really matter. That part's not really all that important, because like I said, it's going to be trimmed off. You're going to make them even. You can make them the size you want, or you can leave the tail off. Let's let this glue dry, and then when that's dry, I'll be back and I'll show you what this looks like. All right, the glue is dry enough now that we can handle these a little bit. I think they turned out really, really cute. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, I encourage you to push that like button, leave me a comment. If you haven't subscribed and you'd like to see more videos in the future, be sure and push that subscribe button to subscribe, and push the notification bell so you know when I put up a new video. Be sure and check the blog post for some more photos, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.